Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, we have a great show planned for you where in the first part of the show, we are dedicating it to of course, a product called Millo. And if you haven't heard about Millo, this is going to be a blender that I don't want to say it will change your life, but I know people who, religiously live by their blender. They, they make protein shakes and smoothies and, that is their diet. And I think making that more convenient and really upgrading what a blender could be, this is going to be something very exciting. So that's going to be in the first part. Second part, computer and technology news. We have a lot of great stories, including things like, I think this is Oklahoma, passed legislation that will prevent companies from microchipping their employees, much like they would, a canine companion. So, hey, we have stories like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get started, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including show notes. It will have a link to our guest website. Anything that we talk about here today, you can find, of course, at computeramerica.com. While you're there, check out articles, reviews, and hey, everything else that we do here. And of course, find us on social media. Now, morning announcements done. Let's go ahead and get things started. So once again, I want to apologize because I'm horrible with names, even though I'm in radio. But joining us today is the co-founder and CEO and COO of Millo Appliances. And we have Mr. Aivaras Bakanas here with us to talk all about what it is and how it works. So Aivaras, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome on to Computer America.
Hello. Good day.
Yeah, perfect. You're coming in loud and clear. And so first things first, I just want to start with a little bit of background, talk about Millo Appliances. Obviously, for those watching the video portion, you can see the blender in action right there. But I think a good place to start would be, when did the company start? When did you join the company? And what is your background? Have you always been in technology, or is this kind of a new thing for you?
Yeah, so the Millo Appliances started actually like 3 years ago when my partner Ruslanas got this idea, and I will tell about the idea, how he got to that. And I joined the company 1.5 years ago as a co-founder, and now two of us are pushing this idea through. We believe in that a lot. Myself, I'm 10 years in nutrition as a hobby, so it's really close to each other, the blender and nutrition and this thing. And my background is I was doing before one gadget from Europe as well. It was really famous here. It was fishing sonar, portable fishing sonar called Deeper. So I got a lot of experience there with a nice team from zero to, big amounts of sales in over 50 countries export. So I will try to do my best to use that experience and push Millo forward. So
Yeah, and definitely. And of course, this is something where I'm going to kind of introduce it to the radio audience. And well, I highly encourage everyone to go over to GetMillo, GETMILLO.com if you want to see this thing in action. And really, when you think about a blender, the technology of a blender hasn't really changed in a very long time, and yet you are doing something that I don't think I've ever, kind of seen in a blender. It's very sleek. Some of the reviews I saw on your website were like as if maybe Apple were, or maybe Apple or Dyson were to design a blender. This is what it would look like. Talk about, maybe this is more, to your partner, but talk about why you felt the blender was in need of a redo, and how did you kind of approach the idea of reimagining the blender?
hmm Yeah, that's really interesting because in general, how everything started and how it is now, it's a little bit different. I would say much bigger scope and much bigger ambitions. But actually, everything started from Ruslanas doing triathlon. He was doing sports, and when his daughter born, he didn't want to change habits, having smoothie in the mornings before or after run. I don't recall, but and he didn't want to wake up those family members because blenders are really noisy. Like
Mm-hmm.
average blender is 92 decibels, so it's really a lot of noise, and you cannot make smoothie if your daughter is sleeping in the morning. So he had started to Google like for the most silent blender in the market, and he couldn't find. He found a lot of people having the same issue and having some tips and tricks, how to cover the blender with a blanket or whatever, or put it into balcony, but in general, he understood that there is a niche for silent blender, and because he was like looking for some interesting, some meaningful startup to launch the startup, this was the idea. And then he actually, how he got to magnetic blender, it was even more crazy. He saw a daughter playing with a toy which is like two dancers that were being spun magnetically, if you remember those old school wooden toys.
Yeah.
And then he understood that, hey, maybe the blender could be something similar, that that the powerful torque, the rotation would be transferred via magnets, not via mechanical connection. So that's how he got to the blender. And actually, he was launching the Kickstarter in 2017, I guess, getting the great results there, gathering a lot of people, backing up the project, and then everything started from the local investors, local private angels believing the idea, and developing this blender. But now actually, when we started go into worldwide market through exhibitions like CES 2 weeks ago, or some European exhibitions, we understood that in general our technology, this magnetic air drive, which we are patenting and using for the blender, could disrupt all the kitchen, all the small kitchen appliance. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
now the ambition, and now the goal is not to speak only about the blender. Yes, blender is like the proof that our technology is really unique and sleek, and you can use it and it works. But in general, the ambition is to disrupt the whole kitchen and be in every kitchen, small domestic appliance.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot to unpack there, and we're going to focus on the blender for a little bit, but I can definitely see how, and we're going to get to this in a little bit, but
hmm
how in the future, innovation doesn't have to stop at the blender. I'm sure that there are many appliances, and some. I mean, let's face it, things like coffee grinders and whatnot that would be very similar in technology, but yeah, in need of a revamp as well. So, as I said before, a lot to unpack here, and whenever a new technology like this, and I know that you said that the Kickstarter has been up for a couple of years now. Well, it happened, and you have a product available that people can buy now. But I really wanted to ask you, and because you're kind of the tech guy as well, what would you say was like the change in technology that allowed this to happen? Was it wireless charging? Was it why hasn't this been done before? Was it simply a creative touch, or was there a piece of technology that really made this possible, to make?
hmm hmm Actually, it's interesting because when you think about that, those technologies we are using separately, they exist already in the market and in some products like brushless motor. It's existed already in the drones and e-scooters, so it's not something we invented. And the same is with the magnetic clutch. It's existing. You can, YouTube some magnetic things people were using like 10 years ago. But how much I understood, speaking with some big corporation R&D guys and our R&D guys, somehow no one was able to combine these technologies and get magnetic clutch to work so I don't know, powerful. So
Yeah.
we have really powerful torque. You can find some products in the market like milk shakers, which are using the same magnetic technology, but they don't have powerful torque. So they can shake the milk. That's okay, because they can make a lot of RPM. But when you need to blend carrots or nuts or ice cubes, you need powerful torque. So what we did, what our R&D guys did with Ruslanas, somehow they did this magnet combination so unique, and this is our know-how actually, that we got this powerful torque.
Yeah,
So
and I
that's
really
yeah.
do. Yeah, and that's definitely a question that I like to ask. Is that what kind of led to this? And you're saying it really was just a matter of creativity, and of course the innovation came when you were able to do something, kind of R&D wise that other people just really weren't focused on, and then you come up with a product that's that's definitely different. So real quick, I think that I need to ask this because it's like it's the world's quietest blender. I completely understand that because there's no
Hmm.
motor, there's no, there's not a lot of moving parts other than the blades itself because you're using magnets. So it's very very quiet. But I guess part of this is going to be a trade-off in, I guess, blending power. I don't know how you actually measure that, but talk about how powerful the blending is. Is it still capable for, I guess, kind of day-to-day duties?
Yeah, so actually, to correct you a little bit,
Please do.
it has actually the motor. So it's not that sometimes people mixing. We are not using the kind of wireless charging technology. We're using the motor itself. So the
Hmm.
motor itself is there, but it's very quiet. It's brushless motor, and we have kind of attached magnetic clutch next to the motor, one part, and another magnetic clutch is attached to the blades. So that's how we transfer the torque, the rotation torque, wirelessly. But the magnets are moved by the motor. But anyway, yes, this is the most silent blender at this point because we removed minimum one mechanical connection between motor and the blades. And then the motor itself is really quiet, and it's controlled by software. It's controlled by chip. So it's again big algorithms how to control the brushless motor, and you can work on that, and you can develop and get really great noise levels.
I gotcha.
So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and let's say when we used the same technology and installed it as a demo in CS trade show under the table cover, tabletop. It means that you have the engine hidden, under the table, so you have even less noise. On top, you have only blades and on the jar, which has, you know,
right.
to spin.
So,
So
so yeah,
speaking about the power, to answer the question, actually we are not going to compete into RPMs, into power, how big, how powerful the motor is, etc. Because it makes no sense. How we measure the performance, we measure the end result. I mean, we put the same ingredients into let's say 2 3 separate blenders, and we blend it, and then we see end result when you can filter all the what left, the smoothie, you can filter through some mesh filters, and then you can see what particles left. So out of that, we are really strong position that we are the same powerful blender, not a mixer, because we can blend ice cubes, we can blend nuts, we can put full size carrots, like 5 carrots into jar, and it makes juice out of that, like nice smooth smoothie. So it's powerful blender.
Yeah, and really something that I wanted to show, and I know that you're not going to be able to hear this. I need to work on the audio, but if you wouldn't mind giving me like 20 seconds, we
Hmm.
found a video of the blender in action, and I wanted to actually hear, for everyone listening on the radio, what it actually sounds like when it's, kind of doing its thing. So there's some background noise, and it's showing, kind of the seal, and it's showing, all this kind of thing. Now, just one moment, they're going to turn on right now, so. And really, kind of listening to it, it doesn't sound too much louder than, like, I would say even like a backless vacuum. Like it's I'm trying to put the noise level into perspective, but it's it's not loud at all. That I guess that's my point. It's very, very
Yeah. So
quiet.
yeah. So imagine 92 decibels is the average blender in the market.
Hmm.
There is some professional blenders with double covers, etc., who can make 85 decibels,
Hmm.
something like that. So we are going to have this product at 75 decibels level initially, and then we can even develop further and maybe even reach 72 one
Wow.
day. But the main issue is that the noise is bigger from the container itself. So especially if you blend some hard ingredients like nuts, so a very short period, the noise is coming from there, so not from engine, not from anything else, but from the container itself. So and there is a few solutions how you can remove that noise, like with the double cover jars,
Right.
vacuum double side, whatever you call it, or I am believer into smart gadgets and smart technologies. So I am trying to get my R&D guys to make some kind of algorithms, because in general you can make smart algorithms how to blend. It's not about when you're blending some ingredients. It's not about that you need push maximum like 1 minute. It's not about that. It's about maybe we can make the blending in lower speed but reach the same result. And especially if we can understand what ingredients are inside, if we can measure vibrations, what we do, if we can measure resistance of the liquid, like density of the liquid, so we can adopt the blending cycle or the blending, I don't know, power. And imagine if we can make the same performance with not 15,000 rpm but with 7,000 rpm. You have the same performance of your smoothie, so then you have much less noise. So this is the place where we will be developing further, and we will be delivering people more and more, positive result out of that.
That's a very interesting way to take it. I know that everything you just said is definitely possible, and obviously, if you're blending fruits or something very, very soft, as opposed to like
Yeah.
ice, it would be it's a very different blending speed that you would need. So I completely
Yes, yes,
understand that.
sure. So we can adopt. So that's the smart blending. What we presenting, that this is blender is smart. So it has firmware inside. It has chip. It has some things to measure vibrations, as I said, and density and how much power motor is using, etc. So out of that, we can make algorithms to reach the performance and reach our goals.
So yeah,
And
and and I'm definitely looking forward to something like that, because I think something like that would, you created a tool that is not, should not be one size fits all. It should not be one blending speed for all these different kinds of ingredients. You definitely have the right of it. But something else I wanted to touch on real quick. You mentioned that your founder's story. He had kids in the house. He had his wife. He didn't want to change up his routine in the morning, waking people up. And one thing that kind of struck me here, and you might be able to speak to it as well. This has to do with the idea of, I guess, kind of child safety. Blenders are, kind of by nature one of the most dangerous appliances in the kitchen,
Mhm.
because it's a spinning blade. How have you handled safety? Is this as safe or safer than a traditional blender?
Yeah, so actually we have three level of safety, let's say three levels, features. And one thing is, if you take the motor itself, the base as we call it, there is no any, spinning things, no any mechanical spinning things. It's really slim, sleek, nothing on the top. So you can give it to the child, nothing will happen. It can turn it on, but nothing happens, just the lights comes and nothing spinning. So not possible to damage yourself. Then we have the second level of the security or safety, that if you the blender, the base recognize the cup. So if you put something else on top, it will not spin. It will not, even though magnets will be holding, the metal things. Let's say if you add keys, let's say, but it will not rotate. It will not spin because we have technologies, we have sensors, we have NFC, etc., and it's recognized the cup. And the third thing is we have in the cup, we have the third level of this safety, that if you open a little bit the cup, even a little bit, it stops immediately all the engines and all the blades in like a half a second or something. So I mean, if you put the blades open without the jar, so it will not spin at all. The blender will show you errors and nothing will happen. So we really take into consideration this as very serious and important thing, because we have in the market sometimes blenders from, let's say, I don't know, third countries. So you buy for like $50 or even less, and you can turn it on with blades open. Like, I don't know, like it's terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really terrible.
Yeah, and
So,
and really, and I'm glad that you thought about safety and that kind of thing. And actually, since you kind of mentioned the price, the price, I think you're somewhere around like 400 euro, and I'm sure that you're gonna have deals and it's gonna come down a little bit. But at that price, you have a product that, I guess, as opposed to things that could be cheaper, what you're really offering here, and I really wanted to kind of highlight this. You mentioned on your website that you have quality on your side, and that can mean so many different things. It could just be a buzzword, but I wanted to talk about the kind of testing and the kind of importance you put on, that if someone buys this thing for 400 euro, they're going to get their money's worth.
Yeah, so why you have to pay like $399 as we start initially now? It's simply because we have like maybe 5 important factors you need to take into consideration. So one thing is, let's say, this blender is the most silent blender in the market, right? If it's important for you, then you understand that, okay, that's the feature I will be using. And then the second thing is that this blender is portable. So we have batteries, lithium-ion batteries inside, and and you can even blend, smoothies in the car or outside in the forest. I don't know. But in general, what we wanted to give to the people, that you can be free in the kitchen, in your house. It's not about 1 meter cable which you are tied to. So if you want to make smoothies outside, in terrace or I don't know, balcony, you can do that. You can make up to like 10-15 smoothies on the batteries. It's rechargeable batteries through Type-C USB port, the same charger like Apple notebooks are using, or the charger will be included in the packaging. So actually it's convenient to have portable blender and be free. The third thing is design. It's really different. It's really the appliance you will be not hiding in the cabinet, and you will be like even maybe showing to your friends or your neighbors, whatever, having this kind of gadget here. Then it's smart blender, so it means that it has application as well. So application will be kind of half of the product, because half of the product is hardware, but then the software. And through the application, through the firmware updates, we will be pushing to customer new updates with new features, new smart algorithms, new silent algorithms, whatever. How many we can create here, as much we will get into that, people will get it, because you don't need to buy second Millo. You have already bought 1 year ago, but now you got new features through the app update. That's like Tesla car is doing.
So
very similar.
Yeah. So
And the fifth thing is very important, that the base itself, this magnetic air drive, is as a base for the future expansion. So imagine now you have the smoothie with the smoothie container and smoothie blades, but after some time we will be releasing coffee grinder accessory, as we call it. So only the second container, and you will be using the same base, the same magnetic coupling, but the accessory for coffee grinding can be only like $59 maybe. but you can expand immediately the functionality of the same base of the same blender. So we have in the roadmap the juicers, we have baby food containers, we have coffee grinders, and like 10 more accessories coming in the future. So, and yeah,
So
that's
yeah, and I'm going to throw a couple things out, and I have never looked at your roadmap. I have no idea what you're planning, but I do want to say that a couple ideas that come to my mind. The first one would be something like this, because I see that it does have Bluetooth functionality. One of two ways. The first thing I would kind of recommend, and this is just from my head, if you could find a way to build a speaker into the base of the charging base that you have, and you could have it preset to play some kind of noise or play some kind of music that would mask the already low volume of the blender. I feel like that would be kind of preferable to hearing the blender, but hearing something a little bit less intrusive, I guess, on top of it already being quiet.
Interesting idea. Yeah, we actually have the speaker already, and we have in mind connection with Alexa as well, or some other appliances like that. So we have the speaker, and we will have sounds and some noises. So, but that's playing music, as you say. Yeah, that's interesting.
And so there's that, and then another attachment that you could have even on top of that, again with the speaker, because I feel like that's a known technology. People have them and people understand it. If you could kind of make a larger speaker that would sit on top of it and use the kind of the charging through that, and they could have a larger speaker right there using the same base. Something like that would be kind of cool as well.
Okay, sounds interesting.
Maybe, and again, this is all for your kind of thing, but it's very interesting that you foresee the base being more than just for this one device. It's going to be for more, and that leads us into our next question, which is how kind of Millo appliances, how you plan to disrupt and change the day-to-day life of people in their kitchens, in how they deal with food. You see this as kind of you are developing a platform more than just a blender, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I spoke in the beginning. That after speaking with different companies and showing this technology to different industry giants, we understood that this could be a new gold standard for every kitchen. And this magnetic air drive, as we call it, MAD, this technology, we see the possibilities to develop it further. But imagine in the future kitchen, let's say 5 years from now, you have this engine integrated in your kitchen table or kitchen countertop, and on top you see nothing. It's slim, sleek, like nothing visible.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is integrated under, and then you just have the containers, like smoothie container with the blades, like a coffee grinder, like meat grinder, whatever, spicy grinder, and you can use many different functions on the same place. So what you get out of that, you have one engine for like 5-7 different devices. Now you have 7 different engines in your kitchen, because you have engine for juicer, engine for a grinder, engine for coffee grinder, whatever. So it's kind of sustainable, going this way. We can save the space, we can save the space, and sustainable for the world. So we want to introduce this to every kitchen as a gold standard, and that's definitely will be not only our job. That's why we speaking with big corporations to partner with for that. But we have really like a big know-how into this magnetic air drive now, so we can develop that further. And someone would be producing, the devices using the same technology, licensing it. So
Yeah.
that's possible.
You definitely have something very, very different here. I'm happy that we are able to get to you, but this will be taking a massive step back. But I guess because I do recommend people go out to the website or come to Computer America to see what the product looks like. But I'll leave it to your hands, Aivaras, if you wouldn't mind. Could you actually describe the blender and the user interface, because there's like lights, it's touch sensitive. I really want people who are simply listening to the show to really understand what this thing looks like.
The blender itself, you mean?
Yes. The blender itself and the base unit as well, for people who can't look at it and are just listening. Could you describe what it looks like?
So it's actually a round shape, like one kilogram weight because it has batteries. Really slim, white, modern, with aluminum, really premium quality materials. We don't want to make cheap stuff. So, and the controls is it has no button, only one button to turn it on. It's under the blender, but then on top you have 360 degrees touch, let's say touch control.
Mm-hmm.
And when you touch it with the finger, you get LED lights showing you like 36, I guess, points to touch, and then you get the manual control appearing there, and some pre-programmed controls appearing there, which you can actually personalize through the app. So we wanted to do it both ways, that you can use Blender without the app if you don't want, or you can control through the app as well. So it's you can do that both ways. And
Yeah.
and that's all actually. So very intuitive. So you just touch the blender, you get those controls appearing at your side. If you go around and touch from different side, you will get controls there, so you don't need to change the position of the product itself, of the blender.
Mm-hmm.
It's very intuitive.
So the last thing I do want to say is cleanup. Is it machine wash safe? Is it hand wash only? How's the cleanup?
Yeah, so actually you need to maybe to see some videos in YouTube. We have one video about that, but it's very easy to clean, and you don't need even to put into dishwashing. Why? Because the blades are located into cover, into cup. So when you make the smoothie and when you open the jar, you take the cup out, you have the blades there, and it's really close to you, so it's not like hidden in the bottom of the jar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very easy to clean. You just wash with the tap of water, and that's all. You don't need to somehow to have some special things. So it's very very simple. And for jar we are using Triton plastic. That's best plastic, BPA plastic you can get now in the market. So this one is dishwasher safe as well. So the base you don't need to, you just weep it with the dry I don't know. That's really really easy to clean. So but you better to see a video, because it's, I don't know, it's hard to explain to me.
No, it's and of course you can find that information online, and actually I found your YouTube channel right here. Yeah, and you have the blender reimagined, and you can blending a smoothie, London's tube, stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna have links to all that kind of thing there up on the show notes. So I did want to say that we talked a little bit about future plans. You have a lot of things kind of coming that make a lot of sense. The first thing in my head was, well, if you're making a blender, it's very easy to make a coffee grinder, and it sounds like you guys thought the same thing, and much sooner than I did. So it sounds like you have other attachments. What appliances do you think, other than like a coffee grinder or maybe like a larger blender, where do you see things going in the next 2 to 3 years with your company? Yeah.
So actually, how we see that the whole food processor as device can be disrupted by this technology, and actually all the small domestic appliance can be using this technology. Those appliances which need rotation torque.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like 25 in the list. So we have some patents as well for that. So we have those listed there. And in the future, what we want to do is that in every induction hub, so now you have induction at home, let's say, there could be our technology as well. So imagine that in the future, you can cook in the special pot in our technology. Could be in the same spot, can be induction and mixing and blending. So imagine you have application on the back end. You have recipe. You choose, let's say, I don't know, tomato soup or a potato soup, whatever. So app tells you to put ingredients and put on the induction with our technologies, and then everything will be done there, because it can mix itself and it can blend and it can warm and cook ingredients very easy. So So that's would be really convenient for today user, which want to have good prepared food, but don't have so much time, maybe, or something. It's not so easy to do if you're not used to that. So we want to disrupt the how people do food and how prepare and how they eat, helping the technology to do that easier for them.
Yeah,
So that's the goal.
yeah, and definitely technology when it comes to the kitchen. I was a pretty early adopter when it came to sous vide and induction cooktops and things like that. It's incredible what technology is doing for something. Let's face it, the kitchen has been around as long as civilization has been around, and it's not many people want to reinvent the wheel. But I really do think what you have here with the Millo appliances and a lot of technology in the food space is really doing amazing things. So you're in a very interesting industry.
Yeah, sure. That's really interesting.
Yep.
For me personal as well.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely believe it. And so with that, and I'll go ahead and let you have the last word. Is there anything that we didn't touch on, or anything that you feel like we should talk about before we wrap up the interview?
Actually, we touched all the main things we wanted. So
I think that we covered it pretty well, and we got a lot of good information out there. If people want to find out more information, where's the best place to go?
So we are a small team still. So we have our website, as you were telling. Then we have the YouTube channel, but through the website you can find the links to the YouTube channel. And LinkedIn actually is a very good platform to follow our company, or me personally, or Ruslanas, because we are sharing the most important things there. And actually, if you would check the video we did in CES, cooking the pancakes on the special demo table with our technology, the future kitchen table, that got massive views in like few days, like over millions of views. And that's really proving that people want that technology at home, and a lot of people asking where to buy it, how to get it, etc., etc. So check LinkedIn. This video is amazing, showing how our technology can change your kitchen in the future, and how slim and how nice the kitchen can be, in the future.
And by the way, for anyone out there watching the video portion, we're actually watching a gentleman flip flapjacks, or I should say crepes. These are probably crepes.
Yeah, that's Ruslanas. We were filming in CES. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was actually, and that's how we actually got your information. Was we saw you out at CES? It was and really your the table, the cooktop, everything that you have there. It really reminded me of I think it was Corning that did like a day with glass or something like that, or whatever it was called. And you seem to be delivering what that kind of demonstration, pie in the sky kind of thing was going for. Very, very futuristic, and people should definitely check that out. I definitely agree.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, you have a lot of work ahead of you, but I think that like I said, you have made this sleek. You have made these things, dare I say, sexy. You have really made these things something else. So thank you so much for joining us on the show, and I look forward to if you ever have when you have a new product, if you'd like to come back here onto Computer America to talk about it, we love to have you back on.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
All right, great. So until next time, everyone, once again, we have been talking to Mr. Aivaras Bakanas. He is the co-founder and COO of Millo Appliances, GETMILLO.com. Link over at Computer America. So, hey, until next time, thank you so much. Have a great day. Talk to you next time. All right, perfect. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and continue on here. We are about to do computer technology news. This video is really, really crazy. They're able to blend, of course, the crepe mix and then cook the crepes right there. Definitely a video worth checking out. Yeah, very, very impressive, very impressive. And he takes a bite. So everyone, let's go ahead and continue on here. Let's go ahead and do computer and technology news, and that is brought to you by Computer America. So everyone, let's go ahead and continue on here with Computer America. I think the first the first story that we're going to do is, and there's so many like Debbie Downer stories and things like that. Let's go ahead and talk about. Oh man, there's so many interesting ones. Oops, did not mean to close that. So everyone, our first story that we're going to do is actually going to be about, well, it's important enough. Not really taking sides on unions. It just seems like whenever it's corporations versus people, unions always come up. And trust me, these corporations are very good at getting unions, I guess, kind of not going. So our first story today is going to be about leaked memos show Instacart is running a union busting campaign. And really, with all the conversation happening in California and all the legislation working its way through, saying that the gig economy, anyone who works for your platform a certain amount of hours, should be considered a full-time employee and not just a contractor. And what this means is that if legislation like that were to be passed, and then, of course, California being such a large economy, California by itself, I think it's like the 7th largest economy in the world. And that's not, the United States is the first largest economy, and California itself is 7th in the world. So it really goes to show just how big of a deal California is in passing this kind of legislation. It's not about the hippies over in California. It's about the fact that, they do have some sway in the tech community and these gig economies. So what this means is that if these gig economies are, proven to be workers, then you've got a problem, because a lot of these business models just don't hold up. Things like Uber and Lyft and Instacart and, DoorDash and all these other companies that you just sign up on the platform and you start working immediately, and yet you are never given any kind of benefits as a worker because you're a contractor. None of them would be able to function, or at least they would not be able to function at the level they are currently functioning at. Now, here's the thing. On February 1st, 15 Instacart employees in the Chicago suburb Skokie will vote on whether to unionize with the United Food and Commercial Workers Local 1546. Only 15. Doesn't seem like that big of a problem. But the Instacart workers who pick and pack groceries at the grocery store chain Mariano's would be the first to unionize in the grocery delivery app, which would send a message to the 142,000 other workers in the United States. If you're wondering how big of an issue this is, well, 142,000 employees is not a drop in the bucket. Now, They say that unionizing workers tell Motherboard that Instacart has brought in several high-level Instacart managers into the grocery store where they work in recent days. They say managers who they've never met before have been distributing anti-union literature and are trying to convince workers not to vote for the union. Some of these memos were obtained by Motherboard, and they have them here indeed. They have scans of them. And, giant Instacart letterhead on top, so hopefully it's official. They say that, quote, "I encourage you to look at the facts and vote no on February 1st. You may be under the impression that giving Local 1546 the right to represent you could give you greater control over your work life. However, the fact is that the United Food and Commercial Worker brings a whole set of rules members must follow." And they have, kind of the handout here if you'd like to check that out. But they said that another memo was signed by Nolan and circulated among workers present a list of facts about unions, saying that the dues are expensive, and if they win this election, they will want to make sure that any contract negotiated between it and Instacart guarantees the union will be paid by you. So, they said that up to 15 part-time employees, and actually, despite giving these threatening memos to employees, Instacart told Motherboard that it supports employee freedom and choice, saying that in Illinois, they are expected to participate in an election on Saturday, February 1st, to vote on whether or not to unionize. A spokesperson from Instacart's headquarters in San Francisco said, "We support freedom of choice, respect our employees' rights to consider unionization, and will honor the outcome of the election process." So that's a very important note there. So, with that being said, while 130 Instacart workers are contracted gig workers who deliver groceries, the app also employs another 12,000 in-store shoppers. Those in-store shoppers are, really, if you go to a grocery store nowadays, and I think that traditional food outlets, think Walmart or any other grocery store, and especially Walmart. Last time I went to the grocery store, which was just like a couple of days ago, actually, but the last time I went to the grocery store, it was almost 1-to-1 regular shoppers versus employees of Walmart that were shopping for other people. And it was so impressive to see that change so quickly. Like, the holidays were one thing, and there were barely any of them, but now to see the balance shift, that even if it's like in-store free pickup, but now Walmart is having to pay employees to shop for their customers. That was such a stark change, and I can see the writing on the wall where it's going. Right now, it only makes sense to pay someone, minimum wage or $11 an hour or whatever Walmart pays its employees. It only makes sense to do that, but in the coming years, we have seen technology that includes the fact that robots will eventually be the ones to either stock the shelves, or not. If you can stock a shelf, you can unstock a shelf, and you can have these robots actually pick groceries up for people. And that's the way, like, the writing on the wall for me. No one really sees going into a store as a positive. Don't get me wrong, I go into a store and I will buy things that I normally don't do. But if there's an algorithm that will, kind of predict what you want based on your past shopping habits, or, people bought this with this, if algorithms get to the point where people feel that they are shopping effectively online or through an app, then there will only be robots who will kind of pick and choose and deliver groceries to individuals. I know this is a bit of a tangent. I'm just saying that that right now we're in a situation where workers are having to fill in the gap, where automation, like, algorithms are already starting to change the way that we shop, and having smartphones and apps and being able to order things directly to our door. We're in the infancy of that, but within the next 10 years, when robotics and automation reach an even further tipping point, what will America's food situation look like? And it may be more effective, and it may be more cost effective to do it this way. But what happens when you have hundreds of thousands of employees who no longer have a job, or even not even employees, but contractors, quote unquote, that that are doing these things that automation will eventually fill? Who knows? So with that being said, the motherboard article goes in a little bit further, but we're just going to go ahead and leave that there and move it on to our next topic. So I think our next topic, and how about we talk about this story? And I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it has Tesla, so how do you not report on something that has Tesla? And I know fully aware that is what they're doing, but here we go. Mr. Jim Salter, Ars Technica, how a $300 projector can fool Tesla's Autopilot, saying that a semi-autonomous driving system doesn't understand projected images. 6 months ago, Ben Nassi, a PhD student at Ben Gurion University, advised by Professor Yuval, carried off a set of successful spoofing attacks against a Mobileye 630 Pro driving assist system using inexpensive drones and battery-powered projectors. Since then, he has expanded the technique to experiment also successfully with confusing a Tesla Model X, and will be presenting his findings at the Cybertech Israel conference in Tel Aviv. So, for those of you looking at the video portion, essentially they're using a low-powered, almost handheld, battery-powered projector, and they are projecting an image of a car onto the windshield of a Tesla. And then, of course, the cameras and the sensors that are used within the Tesla, they're registering the light and, of course, the image that is being projected as being an actual car, and it will do its best to avoid a collision with a car that is not there. So let's go ahead and say that Nasi created a video outlining what he sees as a danger, with these spoofing attacks. And let's go ahead and mute this site. So yeah, we can go ahead and do it. So we're going to go ahead and have this, kind of playing in the background, that you can see here. And also you can see that they aren't just projecting cars, but they can project people and other images, onto the surface that these cars would then react to. From a security perspective, the interesting angle here is that the attacker never has to be at the scene of the attack and doesn't need to leave any evidence behind. And the attacker doesn't need much technical experience. A teenager with a $400 drone, which, by the way, already asking a lot, they say that any battery power projector could reasonably pull off with no more know-how than, hey, it would be hilarious to troll cars on the highway. The equipment doesn't have to be expensive or fancy. They had a $200 or $300 projector that was capable of a 854 by 480 resolution with 100 lumens. So you're looking at just under $1,000 worth of technology and someone who wants to be a complete idiot around self-driving cars. So even they said that, of course, nobody should be letting a Tesla drive itself unsupervised in the first place. Autopilot is a level 2 driver assistance. If you don't recall, level 2 is it will keep your lane and keep your speed. Level 3 will actually do some turning and whatnot for you, but you have to essentially take it onto roads yourself. Level 3 would be like fully highway and driveway to driveway, but still would need monitoring. Level 4 is what the holy grail is. Level 4 kind of autopilot is never touch the wheel, you're good to go, never do anything. So level 2 is a far cry away from a fully automated system, but it does have enough automation to kind of lull you into a false sense of security. So they said that with these constraints, even the worst of their responses demonstrated in Nasi's video don't seem so bad. In fact, the clip demonstrates exactly what should happen. The owner of the Model X, concerned about what the heck their car might do, would hit the brakes and take control manually after they went in an unsafe direction. So they said that the problem is that there's good reason to believe that far too many drivers don't believe they really need to pay attention, which is what we found. Many people who have these Tesla Model X's and who, kind of try to utilize the autopilot, they don't do so in a responsible manner. That is one of the main, kind of talking points about not allowing level 2 automation, is that people use it irresponsibly. But, you have to take steps somewhere. And I'm kind of the mind that education would solve that problem, and telling people that they shouldn't use something, people's ignorance should not be a reason not to do something. They need to learn how to use it best, utilize it the best, and then of course it will get better over time. But they need to go in with reasonable expectations and go in completely, as they understand it. So, and by the way, some of the other projections that they were able to do, including other cars or people, which would cause the car to brake or have the driver take control manually, they have other things, including projecting lane markers onto the road. So, you could make a car turn left when it's not supposed to turn left. You could project those, you could project the lane markers onto the road itself, and then the camera would pick that up. So it's an interesting take on it. How you get around it, I would say that includes like right now they're tricking the camera at its most basic sense. They're projecting an image that's not really there, and the camera is picking it up. Tesla is going to have to get a hold of it, to combat this, because in the daytime this is not really a threat. At nighttime, with very, very little light, this is a much bigger threat. I think that the answer to it And this is something that we saw out at CES, low-cost LiDAR. LiDAR would not be tricked by this kind of thing. LiDAR uses a different kind of medium other than kind of optical light. And it uses a ton of little lasers to really pinpoint everything around it. And lasers would, of course, not pick up these projections. So if they could find a way to, of course, bring the cost of LiDAR down so you don't add thousands and thousands of dollars to the cost of these cars, and then, kind of cross-check that with the cameras, you could say, reasonably, well, the camera says it's there, but the LiDAR says it doesn't, so maybe have the driver take over, or maybe we should trust the much higher fidelity LiDAR over the visual camera. I don't know. Something like that would definitely, need to happen. There's ways around it. The technology's there. How the heck do we, approach it? That's the question. So let's go ahead and do this next story. And this is one that we teased way at the beginning. We have a couple minutes, so we should be able to do this. Oklahoma. We don't talk about Oklahoma much. We prefer to keep it that way. No offense. Oklahoma, you're okay. House Oklahoma legislation barring companies, wow, I got this wrong so much. It's not Oklahoma. House okays legislation barring companies from microchipping their employees. And this is actually from the Indiana House, so not Oklahoma, Indiana. That was a close one. We almost had to talk about Oklahoma. The Indiana House overwhelmingly agreed Tuesday that employees should not be permitted to force workers to be microchipped as a condition of employment. And by the way, yes, this was a case that was already kind of slated to pop up. It said that they acknowledge that no company in Indiana or anywhere currently are forcing their workers to have an identification or tracking chip implanted in their bodies to maintain their jobs. But they noted that some businesses are using technology on a voluntary basis, and he wants to make sure employers never overstep their bounds by imposing mandatory employee microchipping. And we've heard about these cases with microchipping. It's completely voluntary in the way that we've seen it. Instead of carrying an ID badge with you all the time, or carrying some kind of some kind of security clearance badge or swipe card or NFC, anything like that, they would have microchips implanted in their wrist or somewhere else, mainly in like the back of their hand or their wrist. That it'd be like a convenience kind of thing, because then it would always be with them, and they could always get into anything that they want, and hey, it would be a voluntary basis. They said that privacy is an important thing. I think we all realize that. And they said, however, they bemoan the myriad of Democratic-sponsored proposals that aren't moving in the Republican-controlled chamber, while lawmakers spend time on non-existent problems like this. So that gets into politics. We're not going to get into that. But yeah, so as I said, not really a big problem. It's only been happening on a volunteer basis so far, but we could see a future where instead of badges or cards or facial or biometric scanning that's currently happening, some company decides, this is the best, most effective, most foolproof way. If you want to work here as an employee, you have to have a microchip embedded in the back of your hand to work here. And of course, that would be, I guess, the slippery slope that Republicans are worried about, that would invade your privacy. So there you go. Let's see. So continuing on here, we have time for, that was actually a very, very quick story. We have time for just one more. And, this one's actually pretty, this is actually pretty weird. Boeing, they have enough problems. They don't need more bad press. But check out this for bad press. Peregrine falcons. If you've never heard of them, they are the fastest flying animals on Earth. In fact, I think they're even the fastest animals on Earth because they do fly. Peregrine falcons nesting in the Boeing MAX hangar will soon be kicked out. You don't like to see it, but much like the raccoon living at my local Home Depot, it just has to happen sometimes. Sad. It's just a sad truth. So for Boeing, there may be many consequences There have been many consequences to the 2 fatal 737 MAX crashes that left people dead, and the company, of course, halted production of the 737 MAX. And the employees have been having discussions that the plane crash have surfaced, and now a new consequence has come to light. A pair of Peregrine falcons will be homeless. They said that the 2 falcons have been nesting at the factory, but because the doors of the idle plant have been closed more often, they need to leave, or else they may be trapped inside. So they need to be removed for their own best interest. They said that they were almost wiped out in the mid-50s, and, well, thanks to conservation efforts, they have actually seen a regrowth in population, which is definitely a great thing. Now, music in the background means that we're about to end, but I did just want to say that when the hunting mode, Peregrine falcons may reach flights up to 200 miles an hour, and the falcons are at risk of starving inside the hangar if they can't get out to hunt. So, the future residents of the plant are unclear, and the USDA has been called in, but whether they're going to trap or try to relocate the birds is still not determined. However, they say that they may return to the hangar no matter how far away they are relocated, because birds are successfully evicted, they will come back to their nest. So, man, things just aren't looking good for them, or Boeing. But hey, there you go. Everyone, that's all the time we have here for today. I want to thank Millo Appliances for joining us here on the program. ComputerAmerica.com, full show notes, link there in the article. Until next time, have a great day. Thank you, and hey, have a great one. Bye, everyone.